Alright, haven't filmed nor posted a video in a while, but I'm back working on this thing today. We got a bunch of parts in, so everything is, pretty much done for the truck and everything. Minus, was told might be, depending on how the bill is, we might be doing some power mods to it, so timing, AFC tuning. I have these guys unplugged right now just because I'm tired of the grid heater coming on and off, because we are actually fighting an issue with this truck. So as you guys remember, I was saying about the fog lights and the headlights not working on this thing. Everything else works great. The turn signal also does not work. Here's the situation we're at hand. So we verified the factory switch does work. So I actually bought another one, checked it, tested it. It didn't make a shit of difference. I was actually able to get everything working in the factory one, like getting the, well, it's not going to work right now because nothing's plugged in, but you get the point. So I was able to get all of that working. The four-ways worked, minus the turn signals. They did not work. So I came in here, and I double-checked, I triple-checked, I went through this entire fuse box, right? Multiple times, just to make sure I'm not crazy, and I went over everything. I pulled any of the relays that aren't actually needed, like anything for an automatic transmission or a fuel heater, stuff of that nature. So this is what we're left down with, right? So, with that being said, I've gone through everything, made sure all the ignition fuses, all the 1 to 15, everything on here is good. All of the relays, checked all of that, replaced relays, swapped relays just to make sure, and, still just deciding to do its thing. So the issue at hand is still as it was. So we have power to the alternator. We have power to everything except certain things. Like we don't have power to headlights, even though in the fuse box we have power across every single one of the fuses. Everything checked out good. We have power to the fog lights, but the fog lights won't come on. We have no power to the lift pump. Like I said, checked every one of these. All the relays are good. All the fuses are good. Everything's good. No power to the fuel pump, and it's still we're having the cranking issue. Now, the old ignition switch was broken, so I did get a new one because we needed it. It was broken. Not only was it internally a little bit burnt up, but the outside, there was some broken pieces on the plastic on the outside, so brand new ignition switch. I actually went through, I pulled everything off. This chamber, everything's good in here. Everything's doing what it's supposed to. It kicks, if you guys can hear that, you can hear a relay out there. I don't know if that's the grid heater or not. I think it is. It's trying, but it can't suction any power because I have two pieces unplugged. But you get the point. So all that works. The headlight switch, the issue we're having with this guy here, which I'm going to be grabbing the soldering iron here, the temp gauge, second you turn it on, likes to go to max. Also, none of the LEDs turn on in this thing. So that tells me a couple of things. We're also missing the little black box on the back. Now I don't actually know, no one's ever, I haven't seen a single person on the internet say what this little black box does on the back, but it's missing on this one. So I have a spare one I'm going to throw on it just to see if it makes any difference. But the turn signal's not working. Came in here, this thing's old and, beat up. So we're going to try one of these, just see if it works, because if the four-ways work, the relay up there works. So the next best thing is just try one of these out. Doesn't cost me anything to do it. We'll see from that point. Clock spring is all right. We just got to make sure we leave it in the correct position. And yeah, so dash light's not working. That's a big iffy. This was chilling in here on. Need to find on that little strap right there on the bottom. But there's nowhere to plug this guy in. These two go to the back of the clock spring, and then everything internally on the steering wheel. That all works. But it's just weird. So no fog lights, no headlights, no turn signals. Four-ways work. No power to the fuel pump. The truck knows it's running because when I turn the key on, the tachometer works. Now what I did notice, previous owner, I was wondering what was up with the tachometer. Well, the previous owner got a tone ring that has a pretty big notch out of it. I don't think that mine's like that. I think it just I don't think that mine's like that. So that's where you get the little bit of bouncing in the tachometer signal at idle. So that's kind of weird, but we'll figure that issue out down the road. But it's been a whole day of figuring out electrical stuff, going through, tracing wires, just doing everything that this is definitely an issue. So, because he needs turn signals, he needs headlights to be able to drive it, but everything else works. Even the four-ways. The four-ways work too. So all the bulbs work. There's not a single light out except this one back here. But I'm going to make my way down to the yard later. Once it stops raining and everything, I'm going to grab one of the back pieces there. Go return... Oh, I already threw it in the bag. But I'm going to go return the old headlight switch because we don't need it. I was able to get this one working. Just figured I'd grab it, check it. Didn't make a hell of a difference. So it's the only thing that makes sense. I've literally checked everything, gone through wires, traced everything. This truck has just been, for the most part, okay, but we're just having those little issues. And it's also weird because it doesn't crank. But I verified this wire goes down to the starter, which I'm going to have to repair this wire anyway. Whatever. But me shorting this to power allows the starter to crank over. So we know that we're plugged in down at the starter. I got to trace this wire, figure out where in here that goes, probably just to the relay. But for some reason, the relay is not getting the power from the ignition switch to come up here to kick power to that. So somewhere in between, from the relay up, there's an issue. It's just a bunch of little issues. Doesn't crank and start, obviously. I mean, we can start it manually, and then no turn signals and no fuel pump. All right, so I got the instrument cluster here all like torn apart. I got all the bulbs right here nice and organized. Now a lot of them are pretty burnt. There's a few of them that are actually like blown. I can tell just by looking at them. But something I wanted to make note of is if I turn the headlights on, you know, the dome light or the dash lights should come on, right? But if you turn the lights on before, I don't actually remember any of these lights coming on either. So that tells me that it's hard to say if it's the instrument cluster or not, because I do understand that the instrument cluster controls some things, but the PCM also controls some things. He had to go and get a new PCM for this truck, and I guess get it programmed. I think he said he went to the dealer, but at the same time, I don't know. We could be fighting issues with PCM. We could be having a problem with this. Bunch of different things going on. Dodge did some weird stuff and was experimenting with new things with 03s. All right, ignore the chiming. I'll shut it off. But I plugged everything back in just to 100% verify. Turn the lights on. We don't have any lights here, so. All right, so this is where I left off yesterday. I went this little black box here on the back of the instrument cluster. No idea what they do. Nobody on the internet seems to give you a right answer on it. But I noticed it wasn't there. So just for shits and giggles, we're going to try it. I had one just laying around because I have a spare cluster, which obviously my cluster doesn't work because the 03s, this would be on this side and this would be on this side, and then all of the terminals are completely different. So this should at least work. So we'll try it. And yeah, I guess I'll start plugging everything back in and see if it works. If it does not work, then, well, I do want to try a turn signal switch and see if that's why we don't have the turn signals, because it won't cost me anything to try one. I just need to go and grab it. But all right, still nothing. Okay, turn signal, no turn signals, still have four ways. The dim works, but I don't know if that worked before. I'm pretty sure it did, but these all dimmed. You'll see them. They're not flashing, by the way. That's just the camera. It's messing with the LEDs. So, yeah, I have no idea. Also, I noticed when I turn the key on, unless it's running, that's what's weird. This should be reading. This should be reading. At a bare minimal, there's no crank. Radio should turn on now. You know, that's also something weird. Does the radio work? The radio does not work. So at this point, this has to be something ignition related. There is a wiring somewhere from the ignition. The switch is new. Guess we'll start tracing wires and see what's going on with it. But at this point, I think we can rule out this. The other thing is, I don't see on here, there is nowhere for this connector to go. So this could also be something that's screwing with it. I don't know. That goes right there, and then there's nowhere for this to go. So I'm going to keep looking into it, and we'll see what we can find. Alright, so we got everything back together, minus this connector. I've spent days, hours, fucking ever. Nowhere for this to plug into, for one. Everything else is back together. Still going to do some research on that connector. If anybody knows what it is, let me know. But, actually, while it's apart, I'll show you this before I show you what we're actually going to go ahead and do. So, you guys will see right here, there's this little thing right here. Okay? That's where that connector goes. There's nowhere for it to plug into. So, I don't know if somebody swapped something or whatnot, but this connector does not have a place to go. It looks like at one point it was glued into something, but no idea. It does not physically reach anything. I've pulled the whole thing apart to figure out if it goes inside anywhere. But what we're thinking, since we don't have headlights, fog lights, turn signals, radio, dash lights, any of that stuff, we're going to try a Ppump, because I have one. It's right here. Okay, we just have a Ppump laying around from the other truck in decent condition, a little dirty, but in decent condition otherwise. We're going to try it. If it fixes the problem, we have two options. One, I can tell them to go buy a new Ppump, buy a used Ppump, or I can sell them my Ppump. So that's what we're going to do, swap everything over. This Ppump doesn't have, I took everything out of it because I have all of that sitting at the yard. So, box truck video is coming soon. But yeah, so we're going to get this thing swapped out and just, we'll see. Hopefully it fixes the problem, because that would make my life so much easier. And it makes sense, because no fog lights, turn signals, or headlights would totally make sense. Alright, found the problem. I'm going to pull the Ppump out. If I can get it back out of its hole. I don't know. Oh well. So that plug right there. Let's see if I can get the camera down in there. This one right here was all but unplugged. Somebody messed with it at one point. So there's the issue. No Ppump required. Throw it all back together. Show you. It is going to need some instrument cluster lights, because only one works. But headlight 1, headlight 2. Do we have fog lights? We have turn signals. I verified that. Turn the fog lights on. Wow, look at that. Fog lights. Oh, this fog light's out, but yeah, that fog light's out, but oh, now it's not. Now we have fog lights. What a load of bullshit. Goodness. So, turn the key on. Oh, look at that. We have gauges now. The coolant temp is broken still, but where's it at? Max. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, you get the point. Okay, it cranks, but we only have one working dash light. All this stuff's on now. Do we have a radio? Yeah, we do. We have a radio now. Cool. All right. Oh, just to show people, we do have working turn signals now. So, bada bing, bada boom. Alright, you guys can see it. We have working volt gauge, working fuel gauge. This gauge will work, and then we're just fighting this one here. So, like I was saying, just Yeah, that top section right there lights up, so he needs new LEDs for that, or new bulbs. See, she fires. Come on. I don't know why it won't stay running now.
Fuel?
Yeah, it's got like an 1/8 of a tank in it. 1/16 of a tank.
Good fuel.
No, it's got oil. Okay, she runs, she shuts off. Has turn signals. Here, I have a 5-gallon bucket at home. I could do it, I guess. Well, we're out of fuel. Oh well. Alright. Now that we're done with that project, I've caught up on pretty much everything. Here's my Ppump, okay? And thanks, Mike, for sending me out the shutoff rod out of one of your units. This is what I need. You guys will see right there. No, where is it? Here. So right there's the rod. And then over here it's broken off. It's also leaking oil. So I need to pull this whole back case off. It looks like somebody's been in here before because there's a bolt missing. So I need to pull this whole back case off, do some research on how all this works, and yeah, this is going to be fun. So we got our table set up. I'll throw some rag downs. We have this board because we can't get any oil on the bottom board. So we're going to attempt to replace that. I also got a gasket set. So we'll get all this stuff lined out too, fresh from China. Hopefully it's not too bad. Alright, there's the rod in question. Might not actually need to swap the whole thing out. I think I just need to take this bolt off. This should slide the whole way through. Slide the new one in. Guess we'll see. There she is. So, fun. Alright, here's how I got it. So, there was already a hole in the end of this one because I put a self-tapper in it before. So I just pushed this one through. I replaced the O-ring on this side. I also have another one. This O-ring here was leaking. So I'm going to get that one pulled out, swap all this in. Don't got to mess with anything. Don't even got to put... This is what came on the old rod. This one, then this one, then this one, all in a certain order. So I don't need to mess with any of that. Put the new bolt in, and then throw these guys back in. But we're going to reseal as much as possible because I don't want this thing leaking oil for an O-ring that... I think this whole kit cost me 20 bucks, so... See if I could do this one-handed, but here's the O-ring that came out of it right here. This one all deformed. So, try to stick that guy back in there. I know the Ppump rebuilder gods are looking down on me and cringing right now. So, get that guy stuffed in there. It goes. I got the other one. I might not be able to do this one one-handed, but... Alright, ignore the air compressor in the background, but if that rod ever breaks, taking off anything back here I'm finding is unnecessary. You would literally just need to get that little bolt right there, take that out, magnetize it out, get both clips out of both sides, smack it out, smack the new one in. All of what I just did was unnecessary. Pulling all of this off, everything was unnecessary. Now, I do have new gaskets and shit. You would have been able to reuse all that, no problem. But you can see in there, shuts her down. There you go. So I'm gonna get it all back together, torque it all down, get the new gaskets and stuff. There's adjustments in there that people aren't supposed to be messing with. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that. Alright, she's all back together. I got it timed, so we have the pump in. This is ready to go back on. So, replace this gasket, replaced both of the O-rings on the inside here, and I replaced the new housing gasket. Note to self, next time if this ever happens to any of you guys, send me a message because you don't have to take this off. There's one clip right back there, one clip on the other side, one clip on the inside, pound the old one out while simultaneously pushing the new one in, and there you go. This back housing never had to come off. Alright, I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger just to get this video up, but pump is done. everything's on, everything should work. So I'm gonna get this thing on in the morning, go grab a 5-gallon jug of diesel for that, because that's out of fuel. Then again, grab another 5-gallon jug. We're gonna use the Accord tomorrow, and I'll probably go get some batteries. And then I just need to wire up the alternator, throw everything in, slap this guy on, and should be good to go. So hopefully it goes smoothly tomorrow. So that's where I'm gonna call it for the day.